Hi, and welcome to a special new series. I'm your host, Griffith Waller with the City of Montgomery, and today I'm joined by Michael Allegretti from Rubicon Global. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can you tell us, let's start, where are you from?
I'm from New York City, but Rubicon is based in Atlanta, Georgia, and we operate across the country.
Can you give us a little bit about your background and why you decided to work with a company like Rubicon, and then we'll kind of transition to what Rubicon does and how it's making the City of Montgomery smarter?
Absolutely. Joining Rubicon for me was a very personal decision. I had come from the first half of my career working in public policy, worked on environmental policy really across the world, both in New York and elsewhere, and spent time in politics as well, had run for public office. So I was always committed to public service, but looking for a way to have impact today, immediately, without kind of the constructs of government kind of slowing things down. And I found a way to do that at Rubicon through the partnership we have. I spent time at Uber as well, and I saw in Uber a different model for what it means to interact with government. And so it was really at Rubicon that there was an opportunity to both leverage my background in public policy, my passion for trying to have impact, and the opportunity to partner with government. It really just came together really nicely.
Absolutely. The differences, if you want to talk about between Uber and Rubicon, I guess with Rubicon, you're serving the public in a different way. You're bringing a new capacity to city governments.
Yeah, for Rubicon, we're a B Corp, meaning if you think of some brands like Patagonia, Ben & Jerry's, Method Soaps, some of these brands that are out there that are trying to do well, right, make a profit, but also to do good in some way. So we're in that family of companies. We go through a rigorous process of being certified based on our impact. And so different than most companies out there, we're trying to make a buck, of course, but we're also trying to impart, have a good impact, impart good change with whom we work, whether it's businesses or with governments. So we were able with Rubicon to develop something called Rubicon Smart City, which is a product, a suite of technology tailor-made for governments. And the whole premise behind it is, can we help government fleets, whether they're garbage trucks or street sweepers, any vehicle out there that a government has, run more efficiently and effectively and save taxpayer dollars along the way.
And Michael, you mentioned doing well and doing good, and you're doing both of those for Montgomery. Are there any instances of success that you've had thus far in Montgomery in the pilot program we launched that you can kind of speak to?
Well, absolutely. So we're very proud to partner with Montgomery. Montgomery we're in over 35 cities now across the United States and internationally as well. But Montgomery has a very special place in our company's heart, in our company's story, because you were one of our first pilot cities and a city where we saw real impact very early on. And that impact came from the people working in the Department of Public Works and Sanitation, those frontline workers adopting the technology at really, really high rates. We're talking upwards of 95% of the men and women driving the waste vehicles were logging into the tech almost within a matter of days. And if you think about smart city innovation is as much about the technology as it is about behavior change. Getting buy-in from citizens and from workers with a new thing. And Montgomery was very willing, both the workers and the citizens early on, to say we're going to take a chance and try something. So the first thing was on this adoption. And then what did we start to see during the pilot? We really saw two main things. The first one was an immense ability to save money across the operation, but not through any one big thing. It's not that Montgomery is doing something wrong. It's that every single city, you have abilities to save money, even in your own home, right? There are things you could do, shut off certain lights, not buy too much food that you end up throwing away. Just like that mindset, applying that to a government department. So we believe we're helping Public Works and Sanitation find the savings in the various crevices of the operation that will add up to hopefully a substantial amount of money. And the second thing we saw from the pilot was there are lots of opportunities to create a better dialogue with the citizenship. What do I mean by that? By and large, the sanitation department is servicing every home along a route. They're going there to pick up the garbage. Now, if the garbage isn't out, or the container is contaminated, or it's blocked, if there's some reason that they can't complete that government service, well, that's not their fault, right? That's ultimately just, it happened that day.
Sure.
But now they have the data to say, we were there, we'll come back. and that builds trust between residents and the government. So we think those are two big things.
Absolutely, and of course that probably speaks to why we, the city of Montgomery, chose you. That those are two huge core tenets of our smart city plan: building trust, increasing transparency, and making a more efficient fleet. Can you tell us about your experience with Rubicon when you came in and disrupted two established industries, if you will, the civic industry, just cities in general, the way government's been run, and then also the sanitation and recycling industry? Is there any story that goes along with that?
That's a fun question to answer. I think on the government side of the house, it's not as much a disruption as trying to accelerate change quickly. So you have leaders like Mayor Strange, Chris Conway, and others who want to see tech innovation happen today in Montgomery. But government moves slowly. It's no one's fault. It's the nature of our democratic system. But when leaders are able to step up and say, there's a way for us to pilot something, there's a way for us to test something and try to keep up with the pace of innovation in the private sector, that's very exciting. But by and large, across the country, that's something we run up against. Mm-hmm. We're updating our technology every 2 weeks. Just like your smartphone, you get updates to your app. We're updating our app. We're evolving our technology. We're creating hands-free and automated things, voice control features every month. And so we want to bring that pace of tech innovation to city government, and sometimes the government apparatus can't move that quickly. But we find partners, and we found one here in Montgomery. I'd say on the kind of waste and recycling side of the house, the sanitation industry, it's a slow-moving entity. You know, what I think we all need to understand is the traditional waste and recycling industry, and Rubicon does commercial waste and recycling, and we provide these software products, as we're doing here in Montgomery. But on the traditional waste and recycling side of the house, the industry is largely today still about landfilling. So most of the incumbent large industry players make a majority of their money by picking up waste and disposing it in a landfill. A company like Rubicon, we don't own garbage trucks, we don't have waste service professionals. We're, tech people say we're asset light, meaning we don't have trucks and landfills. We have a different set of incentives. So we're able to look at businesses or customers and say, how can we partner to divert as much of your waste as possible from a landfill? How can we find another use for it? Similar to what you're doing here in the city with the recycling facility.
Absolutely.
How can you find innovative ways to use waste that are good for the environment and good for the bottom line? But it's hard, but we're finding partners, and we're proud to have over 5,000 hauler partners across the country who work with us in all 50 states.
Wow, wow. Yet, along with kind of I guess bringing new ideas to industry, we did mention how you've done that with our city government and over 30 other city governments across the nation. Can you tell us some of the, I guess, pressure points that you might find associated with bringing technology into something that seems as sometimes old as civic government? Sure. Are there any good stories related to that?
There's lots of good stories.
Sure.
I mean, it's by and large, many of the problems that cities face or that a sanitation department or a public works department faces, by and large, they are similar. There might be a unique thing to Montgomery. It's a little different than Spokane or Santa Fe or Atlanta, some of the other cities we work in. But by and large, cities, from our perspective, are looking for a few core things. They want to save money. So if they buy something for $1, they have to save at least $2.
Right.
It's just math. And as a company in the private sector, it's on us to deliver that sort of savings. Otherwise, it's not worth the city's dime. So they want savings, and they want savings that they can demonstrate, this is the city, back to the residents, back to the taxpayers, to say we not only provided better service for you, but we saved you some tax dollars. And where those tax dollars go, they could go to public schools, they can go to roads, they can go back to the taxpayer. That's a different story, but we help to save money, first and foremost. Second, all of our cities are looking for better customer service. And this whole idea that the taxpayer, the resident, is a customer, right?
Sure.
It's not just, he or she isn't just a resident, they are a customer of the city.
Right.
And increasingly, especially in an age of e-commerce and apps and on-demand transportation, they expect a certain level of service from government almost like what they're getting from their smartphone or,
Right.
or otherwise.
Oh, yeah.
So we're trying to help our government partners get to that level of service backed by data and backed by good technology. And I'd say the last thing, and this gets lost sometimes, but it's very important. Our country is people are increasingly moving to cities. So however one feels about that, the data show that we are increasingly urbanizing as a country. More and more people are moving back to downtowns. They're becoming more walkable. Citizens are expecting a certain quality of life in the urban core just as much as in the suburbs and in the exurbs. So what we're able to do with the Rubicon technology, and this is the real opportunity, this is the smart city moment,
Sure.
is transform these vehicles. We're able to take the garbage truck, the street sweeper, if you're up north, the snowplow, these vehicles that go up and down every street of the city at least once a week. And we're able to help them not just do their core function better and more efficiently, but we're able to transform them into roaming data collection centers.
It really is amazing. And that is one of our favorite things to tout about this partnership. It seems like a no-brainer when you think about these trucks that are driving every street of the city almost every day. How did y'all think about this? How did you come up with this design? How has it been received by government leaders and decision makers?
This is the big idea. This is why I believe, Montgomery, y'all won the Smart 50 Award, a very prestigious international award for smart city innovation. And I think this concept was part of the reason why. A smart city, everyone out there has a different definition of what it means to be a smart city. For us at Rubicon, there's really three tenets that make up a smart city. Do you invest in technologies and in programs that cost less than what they give back to you? Number one, is there an ROI, a return on investment? The second thing for us is, does that smart city innovation make you as a city proactive instead of reactive to a citizen complaint? So instead of you could be the best city in the world at responding to all the complaints that come in, but wouldn't it be better to have fewer complaints and instead proactively be able to tell your citizens, we've identified these various issues, we want you to know about them. And the third big thing that we think makes a city a truly smart city is one that leverages existing infrastructure. So rather than buying the latest big computer or building new infrastructure, new smart city infrastructure, can you simply repurpose or maximize what you have? And that last point is really what our smart city product is about. You as a city have fleets. You have a huge fleet and it's broken down by function. Your sanitation fleet is already out there doing that core service, picking up the trash. So you've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars per truck. You have maintenance costs that will last the life of that lease or that ownership period. So you should maximize the value of that vehicle. So as that truck is going up and down the street, what else can it look for?
Right.
Could it look for a broken curb? Could it look for a branch that's dangling dangerously close to a power line? An abandoned home? Illegal dumping? Potholes? A chronic nuance of any city.
Sure.
Graffiti. We think it could, and you've started to explore that functionality, and I think in the coming weeks and months with Rubicon, you'll continue to do that.
Absolutely, and with your background in government, you and I both know that those are things you think folks would call in. Most of the times they don't call it in.
No.
I mean, and so it's great to have that roaming data center in Montgomery and know that all of our fleet can now become just this great source of information. That's one of the things that in our goal to become a smart city, we've always seen information as being the bedrock to what you need to be that smart city. You can make better decisions, you can be more efficient, you can solve more problems, and so we really, really appreciate you helping us do this. Let's talk now about the abilities or capabilities that Rubicon's technology gives to our fleet division. A lot of times you can have catastrophic vehicle failure, and that can cost taxpayers thousands and thousands. What's Rubicon doing to solve this issue for the city of Montgomery?
Well, there's a number of things, so in no particular order. One is around what you just said, the maintenance of vehicles. So in a fleet of, let's say, 100 vehicles, and in Montgomery, I think we're talking about 61, 65 is the exact number in which our technology is currently deployed. Can we identify critical fault codes basically issues taking place in the engine and the guts of the vehicle. And can we help to action preventative maintenance, or more specifically, get the truck off the road before it breaks down? And as you said, if a garbage truck breaks down halfway through a route full of garbage on a 95-degree day, that's a bad thing. Simply getting that truck out of service and replacing it with another one before that happens is a major win. But the even bigger win is keeping those vehicles at a certain maintenance level and having predictive analytics and having insights ahead of time to understand where should I direct my limited maintenance resources. So that's kind of one basket of functionality that's coming from the tech. Another big functionality is understanding where the vehicles are, the pace with which they're completing their routes. Do certain vehicles or routes need to be balanced? So if one driver has 100 stops, the other has 130, there's an imbalance there. Should they both have 115? Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no. But with data, we can start to understand how long is it taking each truck to complete what it's doing. So we can kind of normalize that workflow across the operation.
It sounds like it's kind of similar to the old adage that we're helping our fleet and my colleagues to work smarter, not harder.
That's right.
Not to be confused with people thinking this big brother watching the fleet, but just to make their lives easier, their daily load easier. It's interesting, I think, at a press conference we held together that you shared percentage rate of city employees who have adopted or are using this technology. Can you kind of speak to that, what rate we're at, what that means for the city?
Yeah, this was very, very exciting. The city of Montgomery, during the pilot period preceding the current contract period with Rubicon, 95% of your frontline workers, the men and women on the trucks, were logging into the app on a daily basis and tracking what they saw. And to put that in perspective, in the 35 plus other cities we're in, it is the highest rate by far. So what that tells us is the managers and the folks within DPW, as well as the men and women in the trucks, are both seeing value. And it goes back to what you were saying, this is not Big Brother looking over the shoulder. It's actually quite the opposite.
Sure.
We built this technology through the eyes of the waste service professional, through the eyes of the driver. And the idea was, could we build technology that relieves the operational pain points that he or she feels when they're lifting up a cart or slinging the trash, driving the route? What are they saying that they would like to see? Well, a big thing they were saying was, we go out and do our work, we run down a street or drive down a street, serve as a street, and if there are 10 homes we're supposed to service and only 8 of them have their garbage out, the 2 people who didn't will call after I get back, and then I've got to go back again. And that's not fair because I was there. This technology equips the driver to document that they were there, to show that the bin wasn't out, and to start to change that dynamic a bit.
And it's a better tool. I think I've seen a few examples of the old logbooks they used to have, volumes and volumes of just paperwork trying to depict who had what and where, but I know that this tool in their pocket really empowers our employees to be better and do better and have an easier route.
Yeah, and I think as a city, you want to create the ability to pass systems down from administration to administration, generation to generation. Paper breaks down over time, right? It's not sustainable, both environmentally but also operationally. So you want to have that data set that the future can inherit as well.
Absolutely. One of the reasons you're with me today is we did make a big announcement recently with the city of Montgomery and Rubicon. Can you tell us what announcement that is and what that means for our residents who are watching?
Yeah, well, we're very proud of this. The mayor announced that Rubicon and the city of Montgomery will be in a 3-year contract to run the Rubicon Smart City technology across the entire sanitation fleet, and over time perhaps additional vehicles as well, all with an eye towards cost savings for the city.
Yeah.
So what does it mean for the city? It means a few things. Identifying and actioning on cost savings. So can we provide taxpayer savings through the use of the technology? The second big point that we think will come from this engagement is better customer service. Now, to be clear, like the sanitation department in Montgomery is doing a fantastic job, but where the breakdown will often be is a citizen thinking that maybe the job wasn't done.
Right.
Well, now with the data, it's a two-way conversation. So we think there'll be great customer service gains for the city and for the residents. And thirdly, safety gains. There's also an element of, as you start to understand where vehicles are, how they're traveling, you start to calm the pace of driving on the street. It's not something you notice in any one day, but over time, can you calm the pace of vehicles on the road? That has good impact on quality of life and on safety, and it's something to keep in mind. And then finally, quality of life improvement.
Yeah.
Can the city start to identify these small public nuisances, tall weeds, litter, graffiti, and start to remediate those at a faster pace?
Sure.
It'll never be fast enough, but ultimately, if you can get a little better every day, that's a good thing.
That's right. That's right. And of course, I know our Public Works Director, Chris Conway, loves this partnership. He's talked about it as a bit of a co-innovation deal where Rubicon and the city of Montgomery are working together to make these new discoveries.
That's right.
Almost building a blueprint for other cities to follow in the age of smart cities. Can you speak to that and any kind of discoveries you've made or what you see moving forward for the city in Rubicon?
Well, if Chris were here, I would say that's exactly how we view it. It's about co-innovation. It's why we do pilots with cities. It's a very unique thing, we believe, very unique thing that we do at Rubicon, where we pilot with cities that we seek out, not just any city, and we say we want to partner with you if and only if you call us and email us incessantly during the pilot period. We want to hear from you what works, what needs to be improved, and most importantly, what haven't we built yet that you need? Because we're an industrial technology company, Rubicon. We work in waste and recycling, now in smart cities. We didn't build our product in kind of a San Francisco technology tower. We're based in Atlanta. We're trying to be very close to real world problems with real citizens.
Right.
And we need the feedback from the people who actually drive the trucks, the people who manage the fleets, to tell us if we're getting it right. And so that's what was in it for us in doing this pilot. And the co-innovation, whether it's the ability to automate certain functions that are maybe manual, or to think of new things that our technology should look for, that's coming from you as a city. And we're grateful for it.
Absolutely. What is the next step? What happens after this? I guess we're going to realize a whole ton of taxpayer savings. We're going to have a more efficient fleet. What do you see as the future of the smart cities movement, and where do you see Rubicon in that future?
Well, I think the future for Montgomery is a very bright one. And I say that because you've positioned as a city to be a smart city leader before everyone else was doing it. And you've done it across a number of different aspects of your city government, and you've done it smartly, but you've taken some chances. And I think that is rewarded. There'll be an outsized reward to your city for having the courage to do that. That's the first thing. I think overall, we'll see the smart cities movement, hopefully, go from, right now, a lot of it, in many cases, the smart cities movement is more of a marketing thing. People are not, it has to be real. And you as governments, as the consumers of these products, you have to demand that, I believe, of the vendors with whom you work. Show me the money. Show me the savings. And once that is demonstrated, then show me the quality of life improvements. So I think that overall you're going to see more and more companies challenged to provide those savings back to cities in exchange for continuing to have the privilege of working with them.
Absolutely, and that makes sense. And that's exactly what Rubicon's doing with Montgomery. I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned that there has to be some kind of benefit to the taxpayers, and that's what we strive to do, whether it's building new solutions off data or making database decisions or tapping someone like Rubicon to help us with this and help us get more money back into the taxpayers' pockets. That's the name of the game. You've been very generous to come to Montgomery. Have you enjoyed your stay, or is there, how often are you going to come? I know you're based in Atlanta and back and forth, but we hope you've enjoyed your time here.
I've had a wonderful time, and I will be here frequently. My team will be here frequently. I won't name check them specifically, but sure. They're often hanging around in the yard and working with the men and women over at Fleet and Sanitation, and we love it here. So thank you again.
Absolutely. Michael, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.